Good morning and welcome to episode 2 of the MD3 podcast with Mckenna Davis, dropping today, Monday after a big weekend. Mckenna, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. McKenna, MD3 Lax had a big weekend or a big week last week with Boston College, and with two big wins, but the biggest win coming on Saturday against the Fighting Irish, and you played exceptionally well with 2 goals and 4 assists. And tell me what your thoughts on that game was.
Notre Dame, they came to play. Whenever we get ready for Notre Dame week, it's Holy War week, and we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to really get ready for their grit and their really aggressive style of play. And I think that entire week we did a really good job of embodying that war mentality, and we were able to show up when it came game time.
That's awesome. I was privileged to watch the game and watch how the attack in the midfield defensively, and obviously Shea Dolce in goal came up huge. But that win kept you guys at the top of the rankings this week. And there's some games going on this week, one notably today that I think will be a factor in the rankings this week or next week. Coming up will be Syracuse and Hopkins, and we're fortunate to have Molly Guzik on today from the Syracuse Orange to talk about the Orange and their glide moving up the ranks. Looking at the rankings this week so far. You guys are number 1, North Carolina's number 2, Northwestern's still number 3. And but Yale, they jumped up to number 4. They're still undefeated. But they got a tough road ahead of them. What's the scoop on Yale this week?
I'm not sure who Yale's next game is, but I do know that they have been really, you can tell in their play that they're working together offensively, and they're more connected now, so more than ever. And I think that if they can keep building on that connection in their offensive units, that they will keep up this undefeated streak. Obviously you can't speak for Yale and the rest of the teams, but what goes into the preparation of a Division I athlete playing at this level to start going into the meat of the season in conference games, trying to get prepared for the, ACC and conference tournaments at the end? Tell me a little bit about what's going on with a Division I athlete like yourself weeks leading up to the big tournaments. Well, it's very tolling on the body, but more so the mind. There's a lot of mental reps and film, and when it comes to scouting and drawing out plays and just walking through things. So the physical toll is to get you physically ready. You've been training since the fall, and you had all preseason to be physically ready for these moments. But I think when it gets down to tournament time, especially in the ACC, it's about outsmarting your opponents and being able to mentally wear teams down, not just physically. So a lot of mental preparation goes in this day in and day out.
What about as a team and, building up each week and preparing for these games? What kind of hours are you putting in on a daily basis, along with going to school, along with, trying to prepare to graduate? What kind of hours are you putting in to prepare with the team as, for this schedule?
Well, last week we were on spring break, so we were lucky that we had all day to kind of just focus on lacrosse. But today, it's more so just like one class for me, and then I'm right into facilities, and then we have treatment. So usually we're in here from about noon to 5. Depending on the lift schedule and our film schedule. And today with our preparation for Albany on Wednesday, it's going to be a lot of film, meetings, unit work, and then we go out to practice. And then tomorrow will be more so a longer practice, if that makes sense. So the first day is a little more mental, getting in like the notes and what we're going to expect. And then the following day, it's going to be a longer practice. And this week we're traveling, so we get to drive down to Albany tomorrow. Our coaches like to have us off of our feet, so they'd rather us not drive 3 hours on a bus and then show up and play. So we are going down a day early to be able to rest, reload and get ready for our game on Wednesday. But usually I'd say we're 5 hours a day, in the facilities on top of like extra stuff that we do outside of our practice block.
And do you guys get a break from classwork and so forth, or how does it work with your professors? Being a Division I athlete, when you got to travel, during weeks at a time, and unable to make classes, how do you make that work?
A lot of professors are really understanding. I just had a meeting with one of mine. I'm missing an exam on Wednesday due to the game, and they understand more than you might think. They are very respectful of our schedule when you gave it to them ahead of time. I gave all my professors our practice schedule and our traveling schedule, the first week of classes, so they have a heads up about it. And most of them are really understanding when you're proactive. So me just shooting an email saying, oh, I won't be here, doesn't go as well as going and having a conversation in person, and then they are usually more acceptable to it, and I get to make up my exam the following week.
Yeah, and you're obviously you and several others are planning for graduation, coming up this spring, which is very exciting. But with MD3 Lax, which is your brand, your product, and what you're going to be going into, rest of the season and through the summer. What message do you want to get across to the younger players about being a Division I athlete and, what it takes to get there and the pressures of, staying at number one? Your team is number one. You're a top player in the country. To be able to, stay at that level. What does MD3 Lax want to get out to the younger players to make them realize what's ahead of them?
I think that pressure is a privilege, and being the number one team, it kind of just is a testament to how hard that our team has worked and how hard each individual player has worked for this team. So a message I would give to younger players is that your hard work will pay off, but it's not easy, and understanding that it does take a lot on your body and on your mind to physically and mentally prepare for Division I lacrosse. But at the end of the day, you love the game and you get to play the sport you love and you get to compete, and competitiveness is something that's really important to me. So being able to go out there and, be number one, but continue to keep earning that number one spot is something that I love, and it makes me work harder. So the more you love the sport, the more you're going to want to work harder to be better at it. And I think that your hard work will end up paying off.
That's great. We're going to bring Molly Guzik in when we get her on the phone to lead into Molly Guzik and the Syracuse Orange. They got a big game today against Hopkins, but they jumped back. They were at number 10, and they made a big jump up. I believe now they're at number 6. Maryland went from number 9. I believe they might be number 5. But Boston College, North Carolina, Northwestern is all we keep hearing about, right? Preparation, getting Carolina on your mind, but having to play Albany this week and then Louisville Saturday. Are we overstepping Albany and Louisville? Or are we concentrating on them and then looking forward to the rest of the ACC schedule?
We're very focused on Albany right now, and we're very focused on Louisville upcoming. We can't just overlook these two teams. They're both incredibly coached, great programs that have really talented players that want to win. And I don't think that's something that we can just overlook. So like I said earlier, scout for Albany starts today, but we had unit work yesterday. So we've been preparing already. And then as soon as Albany's over, we're going to go right to work on Louisville, and then we'll get to focus on Carolina or the next few games coming up. But it's going to be focusing on our next two opponents first before we can even take that next step.
Give me your opinion today on the Syracuse-Hopkins game today. You obviously, if you watched film or games on ESPN with Syracuse and Hopkins, probably you don't play Hopkins, but are going to have Syracuse your last game of the season. What's your opinion on how that's going to go today?
I think that the teams both have really talented offensive threats, and I think that however the defense chooses to play each team's threat, you got to stop their strengths. Who's going to stop Emma Ward? Who's going to stop Ava Angelo? It's Ava Angelo's homecoming, back in upstate. And I think that it's going to be a really big competitive game. And I think it'll come down to the last minute. It's going to be back and forth. And both coaches, they know how to coach to win, and they know how to coach against each other. So I think it'll be really competitive and fun to watch.
That's great. And we do, I just got the thumbs up, we do have Molly Guzik, freshman at Syracuse, midfielder this year. Molly, say hello.
Hey guys, what's up?
Molly, you are on the McKenna's MD3 podcast, and this is the second drop of it, second week of it, and we were just talking. I don't know if you were on the phone listening, but I asked McKenna what her opinion was on how the game was going to be played out today between you guys and Hopkins. Love to get your opinion on it.
Oh yeah, I heard McKenna. I agree completely. It's going to be a tough game for us. It's going to be very competitive, but I think that the way that we prepared, coming off of 3 losses, UNC, and then the following 2 losses, and then we play Stanford in a triple overtime and win. We learned a lot from those experiences, and I think coming off that win, it's going to be a really competitive game. I mean, they play Hopkins, I think, very similarly. So we've just been building these past 2 weeks, and we've only had 2 days to prepare between Stanford and today, but I think that you guys can expect a great game.
Now, while I have you both here, because McKenna's going to have to jump in a minute and I'm going to keep you on, but while I have you both here, preparing for these seasons, you're a freshman, she's a senior, preparing going in, you had injury going in, she had injury going in. Tell me a little bit about, your process of, getting prepared to be on the field as a freshman at such a high level school and, playing against McKenna, in the winter and in the summers and so forth. And, you were playing varsity at a very young age, so you got to play against her when you were younger, but now you're going to face off against each other at the end of the year. And tell me about maybe that experience that's coming up.
Yeah, honestly, that's my favorite part about all this is being able to play against all my old teammates or people that I train with. And I've been very, very lucky, through Monster Lacrosse, to be able to train with such high level athletes, such as like McKenna, and have all these opportunities year round to prepare. So I think coming in as a freshman, I've really had that as an advantage. I don't think a lot of people have all these opportunities and all these outlets that they can turn to that really prepare them for the next level. So I think I was very fortunate in that aspect through Monster Lacrosse. And coming in with injury, especially as a freshman, it's scary because, if I'm a senior and I'm playing all year, it's not guaranteed, but you kind of have your place on the team. But coming in as a freshman, you don't know what to expect. You don't have a spot on the team yet. You kind of have to prove yourself. So being out all throughout the fall, it was really a mental battle for me. So a lot of the stuff I did to prepare was mental, talking to sports psychologists, focusing on film, asking questions, all that stuff. I mean, there's stuff I did physically through PT to prepare as well, but I think a lot of it came through really understanding our systems, understanding our offenses, asking questions, and preparing my mind for this season.
And McKenna, you being, growing up Syracuse all your life, wanting to go to Syracuse when you were little, and then obviously going to Boston College, but you see Molly having success there. You've been with her through and throughout for there, but you're going to be playing against the Orange pretty soon. Unfortunately, you're not going to be playing in the Dome as you've wanted to since you were little. But what advice would you give Molly? Going through the rest of the season, especially you were fortunate enough to play as a freshman. What advice do you want to give Molly for this big ACC season coming up?
Watching Molly this year has been so incredible, and she's so gifted and talented, and being able to just see her out there doing so well makes me so happy, and I'm so proud of her. But she's doing so great. And Molly, if you're hearing this, you're amazing. Love watching you. But
did you see that low to high rip that she had the other day? It was on Instagram. Unbelievable, right?
That was beautiful. Little riser. It was awesome. And watching that with my teammates too, and being able to be I know her is really cool. And, for Molly, ACC season, it's just going to get more fun. It's just going to get more exciting. And I remember being a freshman, just trying to take it all in because you're only a freshman playing for a top ACC school once. And it's a really cool experience. So, once we get to tournament time, NCAAs, you want to just take it all in one game at a time, really try and enjoy the moment, and then just keep killing it because you're doing great.
Molly, with
Thanks, Ken.
what Mckenna is doing is she has a new program. It's called MD3 Lax, and
I saw that.
it's her platform, and it's about training young girls and mentoring young girls and so forth. And I would only assume that that you're going to be available for her when she runs her camps and clinics this summer to combine together. I like to call it, all ACC, get all the ACC girls from Monster together and run camps. But she's going to take this ball and run with it. And we're looking for your commitment. Can we get the commitment that you're going to do camps and clinics for MD3?
Yes, of course. I wouldn't miss it.
Lock her in now. Lock her in early.
That's right.
I'm locked in.
Send her the contract.
Oh, yeah.
When you guys play each other, obviously we have relationships with families and friends and so forth. We all love each other. But when you guys play each other, and I'll ask this to Molly real quick, the gloves come off, and I've seen many contests with club members and team members playing against each other. But Molly, how important is it for you to focus on your team and winning when your team is a little up and down right now? You had some you dropped and now you're back up in the top 10. How important is focusing on the win for you guys?
Especially for our team, like you said, since we're so up and down right now, it's like we need laser focus in every single aspect of our game. Our practices are so high intensity, so focused. And then, game day is just, you're buzzing everywhere. Like you're so laser focused in the game, especially I think that's what we did very well against Stanford. I got to play against one of my very good friends, Elise Murphy. And, I shot that shot and she congratulated me. But after that, it's like head down, lock in. So we have that mutual respect as you do, like with your old teammates on the field. But at the same time, like when it comes down to it, we're fighting for that ground ball. It doesn't matter if you get hit, if you get hurt, whatever it is,
And I had the privilege of watching an interview with Danny Hurley, the coach at UConn last night. So Mckenna, this question is for you. And, Danny Hurley, the coach at UConn men's basketball, said, this season, if we don't win a championship this season because they've won the previous two, is there any success to come out of this season? And he said, absolutely not. He said, if we don't win a championship this season because we've already won two, we expect to win again, then the season basically is considered a failure. Mckenna, you're coming off a national championship. Unlike, Molly is coming into a team that's inspiring to be national champions. But, that question asked to you, if you don't win a national championship this season coming off of one, is there success in that?
Personally, I don't believe so. I think that winning is really, really important. And right now, coming off of a national championship season, the next best thing is going back to back. And, if we don't have that, I think that I would have to agree with the Coach Hurley, that, it is like, this is the expectation, is to win. And it's a harder message, but being at that top level, winning is everything. And what are you going to do to win is what it's going to come down to.
And Molly, throwing that question back at you, I know you're focused on the winning, but can you find success in a season that you don't win a national title in?
I think for us, yes. I think for a team like Boston College, there's a lot of returners. And I think when it comes down to it, if they don't win a national championship this year, I think that would just mean that the other team wanted it more. There's no reason that I think that Boston College shouldn't win, except for unless they're outworked and they're outdriven. But I think for a team like Syracuse, our team this year, we are laser focused. We want to win the national championship. Everyone on our team is on the same page. But like you said, we've been up and down all season, and there's a lot of things that we still have to learn. There's a lot of things that we need to improve on. So in order to get there, if we focus and do that, I think 100% we can win a national championship this season. But I also think that if we don't win one this season, then we're going to win one next season. And I think that every single year we're just going to keep getting better and better. So in that sense, I believe that there could be success in this season in that sense.
That's awesome. Mckenna, I know you got to jump, but I'm going to keep Molly on here and have a conversation with her. So good luck today at practice. Good luck against Albany, and go Eagles, of course. So
Thank you. Bye, Maul.
Bye, McKenna. Good
Can you hear
luck.
me?
so
Thank you, guys.
So Molly, speaking of, we're talking about success. We're talking about, the Syracuse Orange, and everyone wants to always say rebuild, right? Syracuse is in a rebuilding stage. They lost, Tyrell, and they lost, Mashesky at the draws and so forth. I'm not so sure that I agree with the mindset of rebuilding when you're a top school in the ACC and you're competing every single day to win the ACC and win the ACC championship, to make it to the tournament and to try to win a national championship. It seems like you and some of your other freshmen, the younger players at Syracuse, had to grow up really, really quick. Tell me a little bit about that experience and the expectations that the coaches have put on you in order to go out there and play. And I assume that their mindset is you're not a freshman anymore.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is. When we came to school in the fall, we had our fall meetings, and basically the coaches, they were like, we don't care that you guys are freshmen. It doesn't matter to us. You're not a freshman. Don't play like a freshman. Like, you need to go out there and play like you've been here. And I think we're very lucky here to have coaches too that believe in us so much. Like, they want us something that they say all the time is they're like, just go for it. Just go for it. They want us to just go for it. Like, whether that's shooting a shot or it's really just being confident and acting like you've been there forever, like you belong, because we do belong here. And like you said about the rebuilding, I agree. Like, I don't believe in a rebuilding year. It's reloading. We're just, we lost Meg Tyrell, we lost Emma Tyrell and that Nat Smith and that huge senior class. But, we're reloaded now. I think our biggest focus right now, our biggest struggle is probably the draw controls, losing Kate Mashesky. But last game, Jolie Caramelli, she did really, really well. And that's just something that we're continuing to reload on every single day. I
noticed through the last two games that Ashley Volpe is back in the lineup. And as you know, you're a monster with Ashley Volpe, was a monster 2023 kid. In my opinion, Ashley's one of the top left-handed attackers in the country. What's it like to have her back on the field, and the presence of knowing that you have one of the top players in the country that's coming back from injury is now back in the lineup for the Orange?
Oh my gosh, having Ashley back is electric. I love Ashley Volpe. She is one of the most dynamic players I've ever seen, and she plays with such a style and such a swag that it's very hard to replicate, and that's her style, and that's what makes her such an amazing attacker and amazing person to play with. And she had a great first game back, and she was back in the starting lineup against Stanford, and she scored 2 goals, almost back to back, I believe. And that was it made me so happy to have her back on the field. Her presence is everything.
Yeah, she's definitely a game changer in my opinion. I was so happy to see her back. I actually had her mother videotape the starting lineups for the last game, and send it to me. And to be honest, I got choked up about it because I think it's been 4 years since this kid has played. Yeah. But to talk, you're coming off injury. Ashley's coming off injury. Emma Ward was coming off injury. There's a lot of injuries in NCAA women's lacrosse. And, I saw Brooklyn Walker Welch from North Carolina on crutches this weekend. What do you think it is? There's so many injuries in so many teams with holes. What do you think the issue is with, all these injuries? What's your opinion on what's going on in college women's lacrosse?
Honestly, I think it comes up to how much time you're willing to put into your recovery. There's something that I learned, especially being injured myself, is that you need to recover twice as much or 3 times as much as you play. So say you work out for lacrosse for 4 hours in one day. That means that you should be recovering for 8 hours at least. And I think that especially given all the resources that a ton of these like top schools have. Like Syracuse is so blessed to have so many amazing recovery resources and people here that a lot of people just don't utilize. And I'm not saying that people that get injured aren't recovering, aren't doing enough, but I think that is definitely one of the issues. And I think once you get injured, that's something that you realize, and that's something that you work to do, especially when you get injured like in one area and you don't recover or you don't pay attention to the rest of your body. That's when other things start to get injured. That's when you start to overcompensate. So I think that really it comes down to the individual really just focusing on all of the recovery. I think recovering is just as important, if not more important, than training.
Now, you were a multi-sport athlete in high school, but you were one of the kids that, regardless if you were playing another sport, the stick didn't get put down, and you ended up getting the opportunities that you wanted as far as college concerned, because you were ready to go. Syracuse was knocking on your door on September 1st. But how important was it for you, in your recruitment process and your development, to play other sports, but to be able to have to pick up a lacrosse stick every minute in your off time just to stay, just to keep up with the kids that you were being recruited against that didn't play multiple sports? Yeah.
I think for me, the biggest part about being a multi-sport athlete is genuinely because I played volleyball in high school. I loved volleyball. It was such an outlet for me that was different than lacrosse, but there's some concepts that you can still merge together. And I think that was important. And for me, it's just playing a different sport gave myself in a sense, like a little break, even like something else to focus on, even though if that same day after volleyball practice or before a volleyball game, I was going to lacrosse practice. It just gave me something for my mind to focus on that's a little different, but that I could still apply. And again, I think it just comes down to, one, how much you want it. Like I'm not going to lie and say that every single day I wanted to go to lacrosse practice after volleyball practice because I loved it so much. I do love lacrosse, but some days you just get tired. And that's when it comes down to really like the discipline of how bad do I want this? And if you want it bad enough, then you'll be there. You'll be at lacrosse practice every single day after your regular in-season sport.
Do you believe that a player can make it to the top level that you're at without putting the time in for lacrosse? I have kids that don't come to practice. I have kids that if their toe hurts, they're not coming to practice. And but those kids are still thinking in their minds that they're going to play at a top school, and their parents believe that they're going to play at a top school, but they're just not. I preach it. You got to get to practice. You got to be a gym rat. Do you, in your opinion, who's made it to the top level but has put the work in, do you believe you can get there without putting the work in?
No, absolutely not. I don't believe that at all. I don't know how it is for teams now, but the expectation on my team, every team I've been on, is that you're at practice, and if you're not at practice, then you don't play. So, if you don't, that's just the same idea. Like, if you don't put in the work, you're not going to get your end result. If you don't go to practice, you're not going to play. And a lot of people ask me, like, oh, what do you do? Like, what do you do all summer? Like, why you're not going on vacation or whatever? Like, no, I go on obviously I go on vacation sometimes, but I'm training
to Hannah's
all
house.
summer.
I see a vacation at Hannah's house.
Vacation to Hannah's house. But other than that, I'm training. Like, I wake up, I go to the gym, I get what I need to do for lacrosse done. I go to the field, I shoot, and then I'll go vacation at Hannah's house. But still, you have to put in the work. It's summer. No one wants. I think that's a lot of people's biggest downfall is that once you get a break, they just stop. And yeah, it's nice to take a breather for a little bit, but you got to pick up the stick again and you got to keep going, because if you want to be great, then you got to put in the work to do it.
Now, you were one of Inside Lacrosse's excuse me, top players. I think you were number 10 or 11, 9, 10 or 11 in there. You were in best in class. You were in the, the All-Star, the senior game. You were All-American, I think, twice, right? In high school.
Yes.
You got everything that you deserved. You deserved everything that you got. I'll say that.
Thank you.
And going to Syracuse, it seemed like when you got there, everybody, you saw your teammates in the senior game, and everyone was a 2-time All-American, and so you go to a place where everyone is on the same level, everyone has the same accolades. How do you separate yourself?
Honestly, the biggest separator is attitude, because you don't have control over what your coaches. You don't have control over if you're starting. You don't have control over if your coaches put you with a certain group of people, and you don't have control. You don't have control over a lot of the coaches' decisions. But what you do have control over is how hard you work, and your attitude. So if you come to practice every single day with a great attitude, you want to be there, and you work hard, you put your head down and you work hard and you go out there and you dominate, I think that is the biggest separator, because there's some girls that, and I'm not saying like specifically on my team, but there are some girls that will, when they're disappointed, or frustrated, it's very visible. But I think what coaches look for is the girls that say they're separated or not in the group that they want. That's when they work harder. That's when they push harder. And I think that's what really separates them from everyone else. And especially coming into Syracuse with such a talented freshman class, I think our biggest strength is how close our class is and the chemistry that we already have. So in a sense, when I play with some of these girls that are in my class and we have a really nice play or a few assists to each other, I think that is really special. And I think that really catches the eye of a lot of people, because that's 2 freshmen, 2 newbies. And I don't know, I just think chemistry is everything, and attitude and work ethic is the biggest separator for in the eyes of coaches.
All right, absolutely. So you guys are currently ranked, I think, 6th or 7th. You made a jump up, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I think so.
But tell me about the top 4. Boston College is 1. You have North Carolina's 2, which you already played Carolina. You already played Northwestern. And number 4 is Yale. And I don't know if you guys play Yale or not, but Carolina's good. Tell me about Carolina.
Yeah. Carolina was an interesting game for us. 2 days before, we found out that one of our quarterbacks of our offense, Olivia Adamson, wasn't able to play this season. And, that was a big hit for us. So having to prepare one day before the Carolina game for that was tough. But I'm not saying that's why we lost that game. It's definitely not. We did not play very well in the Carolina game, and that is a team who is very, very athletic and very talented. And I think for us, at least, we kind of, not that we weren't expecting, but it was the first time that we played a team that was similar to us in terms of athleticism and talent. And I think that Carolina has amazing chemistry and meshes very well together, and that's what makes them so strong. As for the other teams, I think we really played well against Northwestern. A few mistakes here and there, a few less fouls on Madison Taylor, then that would have been a completely different game. But again, another team that's so athletic and so talented, as well as Boston College, who I know we have marked down on our calendar, because
I would hope so.
A big game for us. Right. Yep. And as for Yale, we play Yale, I think in the first week of April.
Okay.
Another team, very athletic, very talented. And, I think if we go in very prepared to these games, we've gotten better every single game. So being able to play a team like Boston College at the very end of our season, I think that is such an advantage for us, because that's where we're going to be at our best. And that's where we learn from experiences from like Northwestern and North Carolina. So in a sense, I guess we're kind of working our way up, and, I couldn't be more excited.
That's
to
awesome.
play.
And who do you have up next? Who's your next?
Up next is Hopkins today. At
Oh, that's
4.
right. Hopkins today. That'll be a good one.
Yes.
Tim McCormick's, Hopkins, they're very, very good
They
team.
are,
Big
yes.
Ten, out of conference game for you guys early, in the week, obviously. But that ought to be a good one. So, Mal, I wish you luck this season. I'm watching and rooting for you. Love to have you back on Mckenna's podcast here. Like I said, I apologize. She had to jump. She had to get into some meetings. Big week for her. Obviously they have 2 games this week, but if you can reserve some Mondays for us, that's when we do the podcast, and it drops on Tuesday or Wednesday. And please make sure you tell your father we said hello. We're a big fan of his as well. The only time
His dance moves on ESPN.
I know, right? He had the Trump dance going. I saw it on ESPN. So, all right. Well, thanks so much for coming on, and listeners of the MD3 podcast, thanks for listening up, and we'll be back to you next week.
Thank you so much for having me.
You got it.